Welcome along, everybody, to Donington Park in the East Midlands for round number 3 of the 2022 TCR UK Championship. The sun is shining, we've got a good crowd on hand and a packed grid of touring cars set to do battle around one of the country's best racetracks, the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit, for 25 minutes. It's the second event of the 2022 season after a brilliant start to the year at Oulton Park over the Easter bank holiday, which saw 2 different race winners, 2 first-time race winners in the championship as well. We're now set to do it all over again here today as, once again, part of the British GT package here at Donington. Andy McEwen here in the commentary box. No Paul O'Neill here this weekend. He's at home crying because of a football result yesterday, probably. No, he unfortunately has come down with the dreaded COVID, so we wish Paul the very best and a speedy recovery. We hope to have him back at a racetrack annoying us all in the very near future. We do, though, have a very worthy replacement for him because Jack Oliphant is here alongside me in the commentary box. Jack Oliphant, former Ginetta racer, esports commentator, and these days, real world commentator as well. And Jack, as someone with racing experience and a touring car fan as well, I'm sure you're looking forward to today quite a bit.
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing. It's been sort of the highlight of my calendar. It's been building up to this event. I can't wait for it. A big thank you to Maximum Motorsport, obviously Stuart and Nicky Lyons for giving me the opportunity. Hopefully Paul O'Neill is better soon, obviously, but I'm going to try and be a somewhat worthy replacement for him for the time being. But the grid's on.
Yeah, this is how they line up then for round number 3 of the championship. Chris Smiley on pole, Hugo Cook alongside him. The Audi's looking really, really fast this weekend. Adam Shepherd down on power a bit in that Hyundai. He still managed to qualify third alongside the joint championship leader, Max Hart. He shares the points lead with the pole sitter, Chris Smiley. Row 3 for Isaac Smith, who was strong at Oulton last time. Lewis Kent, the double reigning champion, 6th on the grid in the Hyundai Veloster. Row number 4 then for the second of the Audis, Brad Hutchinson with Jamie Tonks alongside. No longer actually in a DSG Cupra, and he's going an awful lot quicker now in his brand new car. Bradley Kent, younger brother of Lewis, lines up 9th on the grid. Rob Butler's had some issues in pre-event testing, but seems to have got them sorted now, and he rounds out the top 10 on the grid. Row number 6 then is where we find Bruce Winfield, runner-up in the championship last year, and Jessica Hawkins, the first ever female driver to win a touring car race in the UK. She did so in the second race at Oulton Park last time out. She lines up 12th in her Cupra. Row number 7 then is where we find the next 2 cars, and it's Alex Lee making his debut. Former Fiesta Junior star, was really rapid at the pre-season media test. He lines up 13th in a Hyundai with Matthew Wilson in the new shape Cupra alongside. Row 8 then of the grid is Scott Sumpton, third of the Essex and Kent Motorsport Hyundais, and Andy Wilmot, who had a start line shunt at Oulton last time, hoping not to repeat that here today. Then the next row, Jack Depper, he had an off in qualifying yesterday. No damage done to the car though. He lines up 17th. Russell Joyce for company in 18th. He too reckons he had a bit more pace in the car than that. Atmore Neal's Subaru is next. Darrell Wilson perhaps a little out of position down in 20th on the grid. And then we get towards the tail end of the field with Steve Gales 21st, Chris Wallace 22nd on the grid. Neil Trotter makes his TCR debut in 23rd. Mark Smith is back for another go in his Cupra. He's 24th on the grid. And at the back of the grid, after some overheating issues earlier on in the weekend, which led to an engine change, is Jack Constable. And Jack Constable was a race winner last year. And Jack, starting from the back of the grid, one to watch. Got himself actually a victory here at Donington in the penultimate race of 2021. And he'll be aiming to try and get into the top 10 if he can in this one. Well, a cracking field of cars, Jack. I mean, everyone keeps talking about the numbers of cars we have on the grid, but a really, really competitive driver lineup as well. And that was sort of showcased by how close qualifying was yesterday.
Yeah, qualifying was epic, wasn't it, really? I think there were 12 drivers, all separated by about a second, which is really just goes to show that not only the TCR looks great, it's on a fantastic package, but the drivers are starting to step up to the front as well. And we're getting a bigger echelon of drivers, a better echelon of drivers. Obviously, Chris Smiley on pole position, but the driver I'm probably most impressed with is Hugo Cook, currently sat on second position. He was only 200th of a second off Chris Smiley's time. And this is his first full season. He's not done any kind of car racing before. He's only done karting a couple of years ago. Very impressive by Hugo.
Yeah, had some pretty crippling gearbox issues at Oulton Park, which meant he had to withdraw from that event before the racing started. But here he is in the Audi on the front row of the grid. Here we go then, round number 3 of the TCR UK Championship for 2022. 25 minutes on the clock. Chris Smiley on pole position with Hugo Cook alongside him. Rev starting to rise. The red lights go out. We're away in racing here at Donington Park. Not a great start start from Hugo Cook. Max Hart is away well. There's a stall for Brad Hutchinson. That's a real shame. Neither of the Audis getting off the line well. Smiley leads them into turn one. Max Hart up the inside of it, though. The championship leaders almost come to blows at turn one. Smiley holds on to the advantage. Hart second. Adam Shepherd there in third. Mark Smith has started from the pit lane. And Adam Shepherd, Jack, going for second as they head towards the old hairpin.
Yeah, you said that he's got a lack of power. He's absolutely not showing it. That's Jack Depper. He had problems in qualifying as Max Hart goes side by side with Hugo Cook, I believe that is. Hugo just on the inside and Max having to concede to third.
Adam Shepherd, that is, into second place. Brilliant start that from Adam Shepherd. There goes Brad Kent on the curb on the inside. Of course, Hutchinson had that really slow start. That's such a shame for the ex-Mini Challenge racer. He really wanted a good showing in this first race of the day. Clean start, though, despite some pretty ferocious competition through the first few corners. There goes Antwort Niels in the Subaru and off wide, one of the Cupras towards the rear of the field. Keep an eye then to the blue Audi coming back through the field and also to Jack Constable in the Power Max Racing Cupra having started on the back row of the grid. Down to the chicane, it is Smiley from Shepherd from Hart, and side by side here for fourth place, Lewis Kent round the outside of Isaac Smith.
Yeah, Lewis Kent getting all kind of sideways. It's impressive to keep it going through that gravel trap. It's very deep, obviously, but it does manage to keep it going. There's a little bit of an attack for the race lead as well. Adam Shepherd, you mentioned down on power, not showing it in the slightest. This is a big lock-up, and I believe that's Jamie Tonks in his new Cupra sequential gearbox, of course. Now he's thinking it's going to go a little bit quicker. It's not going to go quick if you keep locking the brakes.
Chris Smiley struggling to get away here in the early stages, isn't he? Shepherd well and truly going after him. Yes, there is the white Cupra of Jamie Tonks. That is still a Fastar car. It just hasn't got the black and gold livery that his old car and Jess Hawkins' current car have. Rob Butler on the grass in the background, but lap one is completed with Chris Smiley, the championship leader, as the race leader, but having to drive really defensively into the first corner to keep Adam Shepherd at bay. Further down the field, let's keep an eye out for some of those coming through from the back. There is the yellow, white and black Cupra of Jack Constable. He is up into 15th already from 25th on the grid. 10 places gained as the lead battle is on at the old hairpin. Adam Shepherd all over the race leader. They both delay each other and Max Hart gets the run heading towards Starkeys.
Yeah, it's Max Hart's the losers. There's a massive bit of contact there with Adam Shepherd and Chris Smiley. Smiley on the grass. He's gone a little bit sideways, taken out polystyrene. Shepherd's gone into the race lead and there's still sideways action just behind. Chris Smiley's gone backwards and it's all kicking off.
Oh, Adam Shepherd to the lead, but is there something on the track? Isaac Smith was sideways as well. It's Shepherd from Hart from Smith, the top three. Smiley rejoins in second. Lots to unpack there. I've no idea how that contact happened, but that is not a good place to touch. And you can see the damage it's done to the left front corner of Adam Shepherd's Hyundai. It's got bodywork rubbing, and his time as the race leader may be limited. He leads them into the chicane, but Max Hart can smell blood in the water. He's got the run out of the chicane. They choose to attack under braking into Melbourne.
Yeah, obviously Max needs to capitalise on this. He's tying with the championship lead with Chris Smiley. He's just seen Smiley go back down the order. He won't be aware where exactly he's rejoined the circuit, but we can tell you, I think it's about 6th position. So Max really does need to get back into the lead as soon as possible. Adam Shepherd is a little bit, in fact, is that Chris Smiley going very slowly?
Yeah, he's off the pace, isn't he? So is there damage? The radiator's full of grass. Look, the car will be overheating, having bounced through the grass at Starkeys. Well, this is major drama. Chris Smiley, race winner last time out at Oulton Park, potentially out of the race here at Donington. And remember, race 2, we reversed the top 10 finishes. He'll be nowhere near that. Out wide goes Shepherd at Redgate. Hart gets the lead away, and Max Hart, in a race now that he has to capitalise on, is out in front and might have the pace to escape.
Yeah, so Max Hart, he was the championship leader going into the weekend. Then qualifying, you score a couple of points. We'll explain that later if we get a breath to. Which meant Smiley was actually back on joint points with him. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. Max Hart, he's into the lead. But look at that. Is that some kind of water or radiator fluid that's coming out with that car? It's going to make it very slippery if it is.
Well, remember at this corner a lap ago, Smith got really sideways, didn't he? And I wasn't quite sure whether there was something on the track. He could be leaking fluid onto his own right rear tyre. The VW Golf in third place. Smiley goes back out. He stayed on the lead lap at least, so should we get a safety car, wouldn't bet against that. He will catch back up. Lewis Kent, meanwhile, in the Hyundai Veloster, up alongside Isaac Smith as they head towards the chicane. He tries to go around the outside line. This is brave stuff. They've been side by side through here once already. Kent goes through, but he's out through the gravel trap. Both of them will be delayed on the exit, and Lewis may have to give that place back because he could be deemed to have overtaken off the track, and it's his younger brother Bradley who could benefit.
I was going to say, I think Isaac Smith, I think that's Lewis Kent, that's the second time that he's actually gone through the gravel. He did it on the opening lap. It looks like he's gone through it on this lap as well, and they will be keeping an eye out for track limits. So I'm sure the stewards will probably have something to say about that, even if we don't, Andy, obviously. We just want to see fantastic action. And by the looks of it, the two Kent brothers are going to provide that because they've both gotten passed through Isaac Smith.
Replay here now. So Smiley, having defended at the old hairpin, runs out wide. He's slow off the corner. Shepherd gets the run on him, sees a gap to the outside, and well, Smiley tries to close the door, and I'm not sure. Well, he clearly wasn't quite clear of Adam Shepherd, was he? Shepherd and Hart then nearly tangle. Isaac Smith gets sideways. Really hard to call that. Smiley wants to close the door there because he wants the inside of McLean's, but if Shepherd had his nose in that gap, then it was kind of Shepherd's line, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think if you're Chris Smiley, you're not expecting anybody to go around the outside of Sarkis, are you? Which is probably caught Chris Smiley out. He's probably looking to the inside, looking at Max Hart. And is that Bruce Winfield?
Yeah, it is. Bruce Winfield slow. It's all going on here, isn't it? Bruce Winfield, runner-up in last year's championship, falling down the order. Now, has he got a problem? He's still actively defending there from Alex Lee, so I think he's been off at the old hairpin, lost momentum, and now he's trying to get it back. So he keeps Alex Lee at bay. That means he drops down into what should be 8th position, just behind Hugo Cook, who is still inside the top 10.
Alex.
Sorry, go on.
Alex Lee was, of course, making his debut. He's got 20 kilos on board as well,
That's
so
right.
maybe he's a bit of a baptism of fire here, battling with Bruce.
And Bruce is slowing now, actually, so forget everything I just said. I don't think he's been off. I think that is an issue with the number 37 Cupra. Not been the ideal start to the season for him, I'm afraid. Right, I started to try and say ages ago, before it all kicked off again, that for race 2, it is a top 10 reversal of the result from this race, which gives you the grid for race 2. So that's something else to keep an eye out for here. It's not just who's at the very front, but who finishes at the back of the top 10. At the moment, it's Ant Ward-Niels in the Subaru, the Jamsport Subaru. First time we've ever had a Subaru TCR car racing in the UK, and he could be odds-on favourite for a front row start in race 2.
Yeah, fans of the TCR UK will probably remember back to race 1 at Oulton Park as well, where Wharton-Niels and Hawkins were side by side for basically all of the race. Looks like they're reigniting that battle, even if there's a bit of a gap, because here comes Jess Hawkins. As we saw, a bit of a puff of smoke from Wharton-Niels. I think maybe locked up a little bit. And who's that? Is that Brad Hutchinson trying to go around the outside? And has Hawkins now got a problem?
Oh no, Jess Hawkins then, winner of that reverse grid race at Oulton, has had an issue. The Cupras in particular seem to be dropping like flies here, don't they? So Brad Hutchinson goes through into 10th place. Jess was in 10th place at that time, so would have been on course for another pole position, as she had at Oulton Park last time out, but issues for her Fast R Cupra mean that she's out of contention, and now Jamie Tonks carrying the weight of that team's expectations firmly on his shoulders.
I'm due to go and have a chat with Jess Hawkins. I didn't manage to have a chat with her before race 1 in the for the highlights show that you can watch on the TCR UK YouTube channel in a couple of weeks' time. Don't think she's going to be particularly happy now, unfortunately. Jamie Tonks filling the mirrors of the driver in front of him now, isn't he? That's Isaac Smith, of course, who really sort of had a pretty poor start, I think it's all fair to say. Seems to be recovering a little bit now, but just doesn't seem to quite have the pace of the drivers in front.
No, down through the Melbourne hairpin goes what is becoming a fairly entertaining fight for second place. Max Hart, as I suspected he would, is starting to escape at the head of the field, but Adam Shepherd, whose car at least does not seem to be smoking anymore, so I think that bodywork has dislodged itself from the left front tyre, but he is coming under threat from the Kent brothers. Lewis Kent in the Hyundai Veloster, Bradley Kent in the i30N. So we've got 3 Hyundais together here, the 2 i30s sandwiching the Veloster, which is new to the championship this year. Lewis Kent, who's won the championship on the last couple of occasions, carries the number 1 on the side of his car. I think it's fair to say, Jack, that Lewis had a consistent Oulton Park, but never quite showed the pace he's showing in this race.
No, I think he seems to have come back with a bit of anger in him, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Obviously trying to prove something as we watch Tonks and Smith again going at it. Now, apparently Tonks has actually only been driving for 2 seasons, would you believe it? Civic Cup last year, and I believe the TCRs. Is there going to be a change for second place? That's Lewis Kent up the inside of Shepherd, but it's going to be very difficult to go around the outside there. I've tried it before, I've failed it before as well. Shepherd keeps hold of the position.
Yes, he does. Needs to be careful here, does Lewis Kent, because his brother Bradley will pounce if he sees the chance to get past him. Oh, track limits? What track limits? That was quite the cut at Coppice Corner, and sensibly, I think Lewis decided to bail out of that one. That would almost certainly not have been a legal pass. In the background, Isaac Smith was briefly overtaken by Jamie Tonks, but gets the place back again, and that has allowed Hugo Cook to catch them. So we've got 2 trios here, 3 of them fighting for second place, and 3 of them fighting for 5th. As ever with TCR UK, Jack, you never know where to look.
I was going to say, I don't envy the cameraman or the director either. He's doing a brilliant job of trying to give us all the action as Kent again just... Oh, he's loading the back end of Shepherd there, who had to step out. Luckily, front-wheel drive, he just bounces on the power, and you can able to straighten the car up. Lewis Kent, of course, looking up the inside. Bradley Kent just trying to get the best line to maybe get the best run. And again, Adam Shepherd basically just stopping on the apex. You could argue it's good defensive driving. You could argue Lewis Kent has been hampered, and I would say you'd win that argument because here comes Bradley Kent.
Well, but Adam Shepherd's perfectly entitled to defend the position, which he's doing brilliantly. Lewis Kent, having tried again to go off the track at Goddard's, ends up losing out to his brother Bradley. Tonks is now ahead of Isaac Smith. What was that? Is that a bollard that he's picked up somewhere? Goodness only knows where that came from, but it gets discarded on the exit of Redgate Corner, and Isaac Smith tries to buy back into this fight. This is for 5th position. What a showing this is from Jamie Tonks. He's into the top 5, his first race in this brand new car. He told me yesterday that he reckoned he'd found about 1.5 seconds a lap from switching from the DSG to this one. I'm starting to believe him.
Yeah, I was going to say his DSG is actually for sale here in the in the paddock. You can go and have a look at it if you're around Donington Park for the day. I'm not sure how much is up for, but we are taking bids in the YouTube chat. No, I'm kidding, we're not. Don't put your bids in the YouTube chat. It's on race department or something, I think. So, yeah, fantastic by Jamie. He was actually saying that his car is good for a win here. He was estimating at Oulton Park that he was hampered a little bit as Gales goes past our commentary box just coming out of the pit lane. Yeah, he was estimating that he should have had pole position pace at Oulton Park if he had the right car. So clearly he's shown that he's picked it up here at Donington and it's worked.
Most definitely. He's into the top 5 and getting away from Isaac Smith now, who has Hugo Cook for company. 2nd place battle down into the Melbourne hairpin. 14 minutes to go. This race is far too short. I'm enjoying it an awful lot. I reckon Tonks could catch the group ahead, especially if Adam Shepherd really starts defending. And Tonks is a canny racer. He learned his craft, as you said, in the very competitive one-make Civic Cup for near identical Honda Civic. So he knows how to overtake. And if these three start tripping over each other again, which they've already been doing through the middle part of the race, Tonks for a podium might not be a bad shout. Brad Hutchinson here around the outside of Antwerp Eels, who leaves him no space on the exit of the corner. And Brad Hutchinson doesn't lift one bit, forces his way back onto the track. They're banging doors once, twice, 3 times down the straight, and that might have done some damage to the Subaru. No, I think it's still keeping pace. Into Redgate they go. Brad Hutchinson, having been forced off the road at Goddard's, I don't think was happy about that.
No, I was going to say, Oulton Eels is actually a very experienced racer, isn't he? He knew exactly what he was doing there, left him pretty much zero space, but the Audi has managed to get through. Hutchinson up into 9th position. Of course, this is technically a battle for pole position for race 2 as Winfield goes up the inside of, I believe that's Wilson.
And Jack Constable on their tail. So Constable for a race 2 front row start could be on here because he's up the inside of Matt Wilson. This would be for 11th position and he gets it. Nicely done. Sorry, 12th place, excuse me. So 12th place now for Constable. The next target is Winfield. They both just got past Matt Wilson as it is side by side for 2nd place. Bradley Kent round the outside into the chicane. The Kents like that outside line. What a move! Fantastic driving from Brad Kent. There was a millimetre between the rear of his car and the front of Adam Shepherd's, and Brad judged that to perfection.
I'll be honest, I was hiding behind my chair there. It was a fantastic move by Bradley Kent. He's done exactly what Lewis Kent, his brother, couldn't do for 2 or 3 laps. Bradley got through, he says, OK, it's my turn, I'll give it a go. And into 2nd place he goes. I think Adam Shepherd, he ultimately doesn't have the pace here, does he? There's a car in the background.
Yeah, it's Hugo Cook. What a shame. No. Hugo Cook's Audi is crawling to a halt coming out of the Melbourne hairpin. That's such a shame for the youngster who really wanted to get his season back on track and clearly had the pace to do so. Sadly, though, mechanical issues take the Audi out. Let's hope that's not a return of the gearbox gremlins that he was having at Oulton. It looks like the car's still got power, so he is, despite having initially pulled off the track, going to bring it into the pit lane and give the team a chance to get it fixed. Right then. 11 3/4 minutes or so left on the clock. Max Hart has a 6.4 second lead. That does not do this race justice. It's been a fantastic race that Max Hart has ended up dominating. Bradley Kent through into 2nd place. Adam Shepherd is 3rd. Lewis Kent 4th. Jamie Tonks on your screen is a remarkable 5th and has already caught the group of cars ahead of him. So I still say that a podium is on the cards here for Jamie Tonks. Isaac Smith in 6th. Alex Lee moves up into 7th on his debut. Hutchinson 8th. Oulton 9th. And at the moment, it's a battle between Bruce Winfield and Jack Constable for the race 2 pole position.
Yeah, Max Hart has done a brilliant job, though, to be fair, hasn't he? I mean, we give him a shout-out because we haven't seen him on our screen since he got into the race lead. On our commentary forms that he likes to fill out, we asked him what his ambitions are, his racing highlights previously, and what he likes to do and everything like that. He's basically just said win, win, and win again.
Which he's been very good at doing in the past, hasn't he? Right, Jamie Tonks, that is the rate at which he's been closing on Lewis Kent. A 2nd a lap as Lewis has been bottled up behind Adam Shepherd, who he still hasn't found a way past. And now Jamie Tonks starts to attack, Tonks will be absolutely loving this. This is exactly where he wanted to be when he joined the championship at the start of the season. Competitive, running in the top 5, getting lots of TV time and almost getting into the pack of Lewis's Veloster there. That was maybe a little bit too hot on the brakes, and now all of that hard work has to be done again. He's got time left to do it, 10 minutes to go. Plenty of laps still left in this enthralling third round of the championship, but that won't have helped his tyres, and of course he'll have used his tyres, will Jamie, in trying to catch these cars in the first place.
Yeah, but I was just having a look at some of the weighting notes as well, because of course these cars now have weights on them. But I'll tell you about in a second, because I believe we've got a replay here, and that is... Oh, that is going very wide, isn't it? Is that Rob Butler in the back?
Neil Trotter, that is, on his debut, battling away with Chris Wallace there at the chicane, and you can see the amount of rubbish that's been thrown on the track there, loads of gravel, and as soon as Trotter got onto that, he had no grip and went off into the proper gravel trap. There's Max Hart, might as well give him some TV time, because right now he is dominating, nearly 7 seconds up the road is the likeable Irishman. Further back in the midfield battles, Jack Depper there in the Dirt Devil Golf, who went off at the chicane in qualifying yesterday, and he has recovered nicely, actually 13th at the moment, having started 17th.
Exactly, yeah, and he's got... Oh, yeah, we've got a Depper actually going very slowly. That's going to be a big gutting for him. Now, he had problems in qualifying, but that was under his own fruition, apparently. There was nothing wrong in terms of the car. He just chucked it off through the S's, and clearly something mechanically wrong though this time round.
You're going to have a busy afternoon, Jack, finding out what all of these problems were. Jack's going to be wandering around the paddock, getting some interviews with the drivers for social media, and being my spy, trying to find out all of the juicy gossip, and plenty of it there will be to find out, I think. I believe Scott Sumpton had also just slowed from that battle with Andy Wilmot and Russell Joyce, so he might possibly have an issue with his Hyundai as well. Right, down into Redgate Corner we go. Adam Shepherd, to me, Jack, seems to now be settling into this third place. If anything, it's Lewis Kent who is struggling. He's fallen back from the Hyundai into the clutches once again of Jamie Tonks. Yeah,
they might actually give me a second to finish what I was saying about the weighting, to be honest. Of course, Lewis Kent, Max Hart as well, they both got 30 kilograms of ballast on board, so that might actually be hurting Lewis Kent quite significantly. Adam Shepherd has only got... Adam Shepherd's also got 30, and that's Bruce Winfield, who's gone very slowly, another 37. Our director did tell us about that before, but now we're getting a bit of actual footage of it. Bruce Winfield, again, I'm going to be very... You're right, I'm going to absolutely have a nightmare here. I'm going to have to run through everyone. It's lucky we've got about a 6-hour gap in between races.
I think the only two happy people are going to be Max Hart and Bradley Kent. Everyone else has had an issue of some sort. Oh, and maybe add Jamie Tonks to that list, because he is absolutely flying here and still won't have given up hope of getting a podium. If he clears Lewis Kent quickly here, he might still have time to go after Adam Shepherd. Down into the chicane we go. Lewis Kent's car wriggling around under braking there as he hops over the curbs, just about within track limits there, through the right-hand element of the chicane. And actually the Veloster seems to work well through that change of direction, because by the time we get down to Melbourne, Tonks isn't quite close enough to make the move under braking. Yeah, I wonder if Tonks is going to maybe ask for a bit of a setup change now he's actually gone a full race. Well, fingers crossed he'll go a full race distance. He only picked the car up, oh, well, it was delivered to him, I should say, on Friday morning, would you believe? Yes. So he went out there, did a bit of practice. It was pretty good out the box, apparently. He's tweaked the car. Apparently it looks quite significantly different to when he got delivered the car. But yeah, maybe now in actual he's done a full race distance, he'll ask for a little bit of changing. But in a straight line, he's absolutely flying, isn't he, out of that last corner? And going into the first corner, he's able to get alongside and potentially switch back to the inside, going down towards Craner Curves. He's in front of the Hollywood Grandstand, and he's putting on a show, isn't he? Down Craner Curves on the outside and into Old Hairpin. They get very squirrely. Is he going to be later on the brakes? Yes, he is. Jamie Tonks goes through on Lewis Kent. Oh, runs wide, though. Over the grass he goes. Spoke too soon. It's hard to carry the speed on that inside line at the Old Hairpin, and just as soon as he took that fourth place, he hands it straight back again. But that was brilliant side-by-side racing through the Craner Curves. Look at this. The inside through Hollywood, as you said, but then the outside through the left-hand part of the Craners. Lewis hits the grass, gets sideways. Tonks keeps his foot in it, but just can't quite get the Cupra stopped. He runs out wide over the curb, over the grass. No damage done, though, as long as he didn't pick up any grass in the radiator. Looks like it might be okay, I think. Let's have a look at the front of the white Cupra. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty much okay. and he can have another go.
I was going to say, we wanted to have another go. He's got 6 minutes to line up another shot, hasn't he? But yeah, it almost looked like him when he was turning in. He almost took a couple of bites at the cherry, basically, didn't he? He couldn't quite get it slowed down enough, and then turned in a little bit early, as that's the driver who's turned in very late by the looks of it, because he hasn't quite got back on the circuit. I've been off there myself, and I'm not quite sure who that is, but struggling to get the gravel out of the car and going down towards, it's the 2-1, it's the 2-10, isn't it? It's Andy Wilmot.
Yes, it is Andy Wilmot then, who wasn't really getting on with his car at Oulton Park, it must be said, but by the end of the weekend they were slightly better friends than they had been at the start of it, and perhaps they've had a bit of a falling out again there at Coppice Corner as he takes it through the gravel trap. Right, this is the walking wounded, basically. Bruce Winfield and Jack Depper have both just come out of the pit lane, having slowed on track. They've got the cars back out there again, so I've no idea what the issue was. Obviously something either easily fixable or intermittent, so back out they go. Winfield is running in 20th place, and Depper will be just behind him in 20th. In fact, they might be 19th and 20th, I reckon, once the timing screen updates at the end of the lap. Meanwhile, back inside the top 10, it is now Matthew Wilson, the car on your screen, the middle of these three, who currently would line up on that race 2 pole. So Jack Constable, try as he might, just can't quite break into that top 10, can he? No,
he had cooling issues as well, obviously, before qualifying. He went out and just basically put in 4 laps so he could just race, basically, because of course you have to be able to compete 3 qualifying laps just to be able to say that you are eligible for the series, basically. But he basically swapped out his old engine, old radiator, which meant he was forced to start at the back of the grid no matter where he qualified. So he just ran it easy in qualifying, and this is the first time he's really ran that thing to its full potential. So maybe it's not quite there, maybe he's a little bit nervous of it. He is going quite quickly, and an 11th place isn't bad, but ultimately you want to be in that 10th, don't you?
Exactly. Oh, well, mind you, that'll help him. Matthew Wilson keeps going off. Mind you, Constable goes even wider at the chicane, so no real advantage gained. Constable chasing down... Oh, never mind. Adam Shepherd has lost his 3rd place. Through goes Lewis Kent and Jamie Tonks. Now, what was that all about? This was coming out of the Melbourne hairpin, and Adam Shepherd is pitting. No, Adam Shepherd into the pit lane. I wonder if that's damage to the left front tyre. Remember, that bodywork was rubbing for quite some time earlier on, and I think I saw some tyre smoke as he slowed coming out of Melbourne. That is absolute heartbreak, though, for Adam Shepherd, who really, really, really wanted to try and reward his team for all of their hard work with a podium in this race. It now means, though, that this is the fight for the final step of the podium. Lewis Kent in 3rd and Jamie Tonks in 4th position. Jamie Tonks, who I remind you started 8th on the grid, carved his way through in the early stages. He's been stuck behind Lewis Kent for some time. He's been past him once, briefly. Can he make it stick, though, with 3¼ minutes to go?
Well, he's climbing all over the curbs, isn't he? Trying to go round the outside of McLean's to make it happen. In fact, I thought he'd actually carried a good amount of speed there, but it was a bit of a trick of the camera. Lewis Kent going defensive up towards Coppice. Going to be a bit of a tight one. Can Tonks get the cut back? And Lewis Kent, I thought he was going to crowbar a space open then, but it wasn't quite happening. Down towards the S's, it looked like the Hyundai Veloster is pretty quick through this section of the track. So I don't think, which is a bit of a shame for Tonks, really, isn't it? Because down into the Melbourne loop is a good opportunity for overtaking it. If he can just hook up that S's, he's done a fairly decent job. The Hyundai's had to go a little bit defensive. This is Kent's, he needs to hold off another 2.5 minutes, but Tonks is going to be relentless, I feel.
And Lewis Kent's best friend here could be Isaac Smith, because as they battle, you can see there the Golf is catching them. Kent runs wide, though, at Melbourne, and Tonks is going to be fully alongside him now to the outside line into Goddard. He might even clear the Hyundai. He does. 3rd place belongs to Jamie Tonks, but he outbrakes himself, runs wide at the last corner, and no, he's thrown it all away. Off onto the grass he goes. Back through goes Lewis Kent. Through as well goes Isaac Smith, and that now surely is the podium finish gone. What a shame. He was so desperate to clear Lewis Kent. He just left his braking a bit too late on the tight line and couldn't quite get the car stopped.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for Jamie Tonks, but there's sometimes a little bit of a thing. If you're racing a former champion, you almost want to prove yourself. You want to go out there and race a little bit harder, but obviously Lewis Kent, he was just using all of his experience then. He was going defensive when he needs to. He was managing to hit his braking zone, slow the car down, and just watch Jamie Tonks twice in a number of about 4 laps, I believe it was, fly off the circuit trying to a little bit too hard. So it's clear that Tonks has pace in this new car as we cut to Adam Shepherd up on the jacks. They don't look particularly in a rush, do they? Because, of course, they're not going to be for any kind of position, but it looks like he's going out on circuit. We'll up-to-date you if he comes out in front of our commentary box, but big shame for Jamie Tonks, but again, Lewis Kent, you can't argue with how he's done, how he's defended this drive.
Brilliant defensive drive. Even when he looked like he was beaten, he was always able to fight back, wasn't he? Just a quick note on that Shepherd car. It almost looked like the left rear was lower than it should have been. Like maybe there's some suspension issue with the left rear, and he has not come past our commentary position back onto the circuit. He's stuck in the pit lane, right? Okay. Max Hart isn't stuck in the pit lane though. One of the few who hasn't been into the pit lane in this race. He's about to start his final lap of the race, and for the Irishman, this would be his first victory of the season. But having finished on the podium in both of the races at Oulton Park last time, he is going to be the championship leader fairly comfortably. The man with whom he was joint championship leader coming in, by the way, Chris Smiley, 14th now, as other people have started to hit trouble. So Chris Smiley, he's not going to get to the front of the grid for race 2, but definitely should have the pace to come battling through the pack in that second race later on this afternoon. Bradley Kent comes through here in second place. He's 10 seconds off the lead and 9 seconds nearly ahead of the almighty fight for third place, which is about to appear into shot at Redgate Corner. Kent hasn't got this wrapped up just yet because Isaac Smith is closing in, bringing Tonks with him, and then Alex Lee, the teenager, in his first ever TCR UK race, is going with them.
I was going to say, Alex Lee has snuck up out of nowhere, obviously taking advantage of a few drivers having a few mishaps left and right, and obviously battles up ahead of him, but you got to give it to him. He's been very consistent, as there's a massive puff of dirt kicked up on the outside of the old hairpin. I mean, if this race is anything to go by, Jamie Tonks, if he sees a gap, he's going to go for it, isn't he? Even if it's not for a podium position anymore, Isaac Smith has to be a little bit careful. I wouldn't say Isaac's had a particularly great race to write home about, but I mean, he started in 5th. He's finishing in, at the moment, 4th. It may well be 5th. So, again, you've got to be in it to win it. You've got to keep your consistent laps going. And Jamie Tonks looked like he had a half-decent run, but we've got to focus on this man, Max Hart, who's driven absolutely brilliantly. Yeah,
brilliant race. A fighting drive early on to get to the front. Took advantage of the Shepherd and Smiley incident to get the race lead eventually. And now Max Hart is rounding the final corner to claim his first race victory of the season. And Max Hart is going to come through to take his 3rd ever race win in TCR UK. Checkered flag, and Max Hart wins race 1 here at Donington Park. Bradley Kent should come home in 2nd, but what is going to happen for the podium places? Lewis Kent looks like he'll be 3rd, but it's side by side almost for 4th into the last corner. Jamie Tonks challenging Isaac Smith round the outside line. Can he get the run to the line? Cupra versus Golf, 2 very similar cars. The Veloster of Lewis Kent is 3rd. It's almost side by side for 4th, but Isaac Smith hangs on ahead of Tonks 5th, Lee 6th, Hutchinson 7th. Ant Warneal's just about hanging on to 8th ahead of Matt Wilson. So who gets 10th? Will it be Jack Constable, who is into 10th place now, or will Scott Sumpton in the 3rd of the Essex and Kent Hyundais be able to steal it from him? He has! Sumpton's gone through and Russell Joyce goes through. Scott Sumpton, Mr. Pickles as he's known to his friends and family, will be on pole position for race number 2. That is a real feel-good story for the youngster, the new boy at the Essex and Kent Motorsport squad, long-time family friend of the Kents, and he's racing for them now in TCR and snatches 10th on the last lap. What a race.
It was fantastic, wasn't it? Scott Sumpton, who got podiums at the Benello series, will be hoping to carry that through as well. Max ultimately was the best sort of consistent driver out there, wasn't he? It was a bit of a shame that we lost out on a battle between him and Chris Smiley, with a bit of contact with Adam Shepherd, which ultimately we believe, we're not 100% sure, but we believe led Adam Shepherd back into the pit lane late on. But yeah, great drives all round and fantastic entertainment as well. I mean, that was a real touring car race, wasn't it?
Wasn't it just? Right, here are the results. Jack, you need to go off and chat to our podium drivers because they are going to have some stories to tell after that race, I would imagine. And it's Max Hart who you'll be speaking to first as the race winner by 9.5 seconds over Brad Kent 2nd and his brother Lewis in 3rd. What a fighting race Lewis had to hang on to that 3rd place. Isaac Smith 4th ahead of Jamie Tonks in 5th. Star of the show in some ways, Jamie. Alex Lee 6th, Brad Hutchinson 7th. One of the few drivers to finish where he started, I think, Brad. And Ward Neal's in 8th, 9th Matt Wilson, and Scott Sumpton gets 10th place, and that will become pole position for race 2, having got past Jack Constable on the last lap. Russell Joyce also passed Constable, so he is 11th. Jack is 12th. Andy Wilmot 13th. Chris Smiley 14th. Now that's significant because I think he'll still pick up a couple of championship points for that. And of course, we'll start from 14th for race 2. He's definitely one to watch. Chris Wallace came home in 50th position, and then there were, I think, 4 other cars still running at the flag. They were Neil Trotter, Mark Smith, Bruce Winfield, and Jack Depper, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, respectively. We lost, unfortunately, Adam Shepherd to the pit lane, Hugo Cook as well, Steve Gales, Darryl Wilson's Astra. I don't think we saw what happened to him. Or Jess Hawkins. Oh, no, Jess Hawkins did slow on track, didn't she? She stopped on track in the end. And Rob Butler, also a non-finisher. That's a shame after a decent qualifying effort for the Irishman. Right, sit down now. That was an incredible 25 minutes of action. TCR UK has very much arrived, I think, in 2022, and that was, as Jack said, some proper touring car racing. It got a little bit close for comfort on a few occasions, but generally speaking, that was just really top quality action. Donington Park always does produce good touring car racing. Good racing actually in any category really. And the GP loop with those 2 hairpins at the end of the lap, which obviously give the drivers an extra couple of overtaking opportunities. Yeah, always a real highlight. And the great news is we not only get to do that all over again later on today, because the TCR UK drivers are back out at 6:15 this evening. Quite a late finish to the day, but well worth sticking around for. But we also get to come back to Donington Park again later on in the season, because TCR visit Donington twice. They're back here again on the 29th of August, bank holiday weekend, for their penultimate round of the championship, a championship that takes them next to Brands Hatch, then to Oulton Park on the Island circuit in July. 2 rounds in August, one at the high-speed Castle Combe circuit and one back here at Donington before Snetterton, the 200 circuit at Snetterton, the shorter of the layouts, rounds the championship out on the 23rd of October. So drivers heading into Parc Fermé. Bradley Kent arrives first. He didn't arrive at the checkered flag first, but I think he'll be pretty happy with that, actually, with Bradley Kent getting himself onto the podium, because he had an absolute shocker at Oulton. Didn't score a single point all weekend, which for the man who last season finished 5th in the championship and actually was on course to maybe win it here at Donington. That really wasn't the ideal start to his season. It's been a pretty ideal start, though, for Max Hart, who wins round number 3 of the TCR UK Championship, and that will now go nicely alongside his 2 second-place finishes from Oulton a few weeks ago. He's also been picking up consistent qualifying results as well. Max has qualified 4th for both of the first 2 rounds, and you score points if you qualify inside the top 6 on the grid. 6 points for pole, down to 1 point for 6th on the grid, and Max has been doing that pretty consistently as well. Max Hart then is out of the car, he's got the helmet off, and Jack Oliphant, I think, is down there to have a chat to our winner of round number 3 of the championship.
So Max Hart has just gone to get a quick drink. He's back with us now. Max, that was fantastic, wasn't it? I mean, once you got into the race lead, you just ended up driving away from everyone.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it, to be honest. It wasn't a difficult race. I've definitely had much harder races, but I really enjoyed it. The start was a little bit hectic, and I think I was just in the right place at the right time, and I was able to make the most of the position I was in. And sort of when I got out in front, I knew I needed to focus on trying to pull a gap, and that's just what I did, and thankfully brought it home in P1.
You started on the 2nd row, obviously, but you had an absolute rocket ship of a start, didn't you? Was there never an opportunity? We sort of had a look at the inside of Chris Smiley. Were you gunning for it? Was that a plan?
Yeah, definitely. I saw he wasn't defending, so I was like, I'll go for it, but he moved under brakes, but it didn't matter anyway. I got the position in the end, so I was happy with that. But yeah, I was planning for a good start, and that's just exactly what I got. So if I can do another one of them in race 2 now and try grab a podium, I know it's a big ask, but I'll definitely be trying to do it.
Championship lead now. Are you thinking about that going forward into race number 2? A bit more conserved, or are you still going for it?
I'm definitely thinking about it. You know, I didn't want to take any risks there. I'm sure my times were dropping every single lap, because I didn't want to put any risk in the car or risk in myself of making a mistake. So I'll definitely be thinking about that in the next race. But if an opportunity comes about, I'll definitely be taking it.
Fantastic. Well, back to you, Andy, before we have some more podium interviews.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jack. Oliphant down there chatting to our race winner, Max Hart. And if you want to catch up with our other podium finishers and lots of other drivers' interviews throughout the day, head over to the social media channels to see them. So, highlights of a fantastic 3rd round of the TCR UK Championship. There's lots to cram in here. Neither of the Audis got off the line particularly well. Brad Hutchinson particularly stalling there and dropping to the back of the field. It was Chris Smiley who led early on, Adam Shepherd giving him some hassle, whilst Jamie Tonks was losing places at the Melbourne hairpin on lap 1. That was the last time he'd be going backwards, though, all race long. Chris Smiley was nearly going backwards after high-speed contact with Adam Shepherd, sent the joint championship leader off the road and into the pit lane with a grill full of grass. The Irishman won't be happy with that because it's cost him an awful lot of points, because Max Hart was able to come through and get the race win. Lewis Kent was also in strife, bouncing through the gravel at the chicane on more than one occasion as the battles raged on. It was a bit of a race of attrition. Jess Hawkins, one of many drivers to run into mechanical issues, that took the Oulton Park race winner out of contention. As Max Hart started to escape at the front, though, it was all about the fight for second. Adam Shepherd fending off the Kent brothers. Lewis couldn't get past him. Bradley could, though, with the move of the day around the outside of the chicane to move into a second place. He would hold to the flag. Hugo Cook, having qualified on the front row, ran into mechanical dramas and had to head for the pit lane midway through the race, whilst Neil Trotter's debut in the championship almost ended in the gravel at the chicane. He was able to continue, though. Through the second half of the race, it was the fight for 10th place that was as enthralling as anything. Bruce Winfield was there for a bit before his car slowed mysteriously, whilst Jamie Tonks was trying everything he could to get ahead of Lewis Kent. He passed him on 2 occasions, first at the old hairpin and then again at Goddard's a few laps later, but on both occasions ended up running wide onto the grass and allowing the reigning champion through into an eventual 3rd place finish. It was Max Hart, though, who came through to take his 3rd ever TCR UK win and his 1st of the season, and he will now take sole control of the championship lead as we head into the 2nd race, the reversed grid race, later on this afternoon here at Donington Park.